You have been told a comforting lie about why you get old. The story goes like this. Your body is a machine. Machines wear out. Parts rust. Engines fail. Eventually everything just breaks down. It sounds logical. It is also completely false. An old wooden bridge does not repair its own rotting beams overnight. Your body does something entirely different. It rebuilds damaged DNA, clears out cellular waste, and regenerates tissue constantly, automatically, every single day. Your biology is not passive. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If your body already knows how to fix itself, why does it eventually stop? The answer is not physics. It is a decision made by evolution, on purpose. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why your body was built to expire on schedule. Here is the proof that aging is not inevitable everywhere in nature. A small freshwater organism called hydra shows almost no signs of biological aging. Researchers have tracked individual hydra for years without detecting the usual markers of decline. The Greenland shark, built from the same basic vertebrate architecture as you, routinely lives past 400 years old. Nature clearly knows how to build a body that does not age. And the deeper you look into the animal kingdom, the stranger this pattern gets. The naked mole rat, a small rodent that should by all rights age like any other rodent, barely shows any increase in mortality risk as it gets older. A 30-year-old naked mole rat is about as likely to die in the next year as a 2-year-old one. Compare that to a human, where your risk of dying roughly doubles every 8 years after your 30s. Meanwhile, certain species of tortoise seem to get healthier with age for decades at a time, showing improved reproductive output well into what would be extreme old age for almost any mammal. Nature is not running one single aging program. It is running dozens of completely different strategies, depending entirely on what worked best for that species' survival. Which tells us something important before we even get to the mechanism. Aging was never mandatory. It was chosen. So why does yours age? Quick answer, because for most of life's history, aging did not even exist as a concept. Single-cell bacteria simply divide into two new identical cells. Forever. Aging only appeared once multicellular life evolved, and it appeared because of one brutally simple mathematical problem. Every living organism has a strictly limited amount of energy. Think of it like a household budget that never grows, no matter how much you need it to. And that fixed energy has to be split between two competing jobs. Repairing the body, or reproducing. Spend everything on repair, you could theoretically live forever, but leave nothing for offspring. Spend everything on reproduction, your body degrades faster, but your genes move forward into the future. There is no version where you get both in full. Evolution made the ruthless call millions of years ago, and it has never revisited the decision. Your body was never built with permanence in mind. Think of it less like a monument and more like a courier. Its one job is delivering your genes safely to the next generation. Once that delivery is made, the maintenance budget quietly disappears, transferred instead toward the next round of offspring. That is the whole engine behind aging. One trade-off, repeating itself in every cell of your body, every single day, for your entire life. Now here is where it gets personal. Take a breath here, because this next part changes how you see every birthday you have ever had. That energy trade-off does not just decide when your body stops repairing itself. It decides which parts of you evolution was even watching in the first place. Picture two people. One is 10 years old. One is 80. If a genetic mutation causes a fatal defect in the 10-year-old, that mutation gets ruthlessly eliminated from the population. The child never survives long enough to have children of their own, so the faulty gene simply disappears with them. But a mutation that causes illness in the 80-year-old works completely differently. By 80, that person has almost certainly already had children. The gene has already been passed on, decades earlier, long before the damage ever showed up. Evolution has no mechanism to catch it retroactively. It was never looking that far down the timeline in the first place. Biologists call this the selection shadow. An entire category of genetic flaws, quietly allowed to build up in the years after your biological job is considered done. Your body is not falling apart randomly as you age. It is falling apart in exactly the places evolution stopped paying attention. Huntington's disease is a brutal real-world example of this. It is caused by a single well-understood genetic mutation, and it is almost always fatal. But it typically does not appear until someone is in their 30s or 40s, often well after they have already had children. Because the damage arrives after reproduction, natural selection has never been able to remove the mutation from the human population, no matter how devastating it is. If that same mutation caused symptoms at age 5 instead of age 40, it would likely have vanished from our species entirely within a few generations. Timing, it turns out, is everything. And here is where the story turns genuinely dark. Pause for a second on that last idea, evolution not watching part of your life. Because it gets worse. It is not just neglect. Sometimes evolution actively trades your future health away for a benefit right now. There's a gene inside your cells at this exact moment that proves this in devastating detail. It is called TP53, nicknamed the guardian of the genome, because that is genuinely what it does. In your 20s and 30s, your cells divide constantly, thousands of times a day. And sometimes those divisions go wrong. When a cell starts mutating in a dangerous direction, TP53 steps in and shuts it down permanently. It cannot divide again. It cannot turn into a tumor. This is exactly why aggressive cancer is comparatively rare in your 20s. TP53 is doing its job brilliantly. But here is the catch nobody warned you about. Those shut-down cells do not vanish once TP53 disables them. They pile up, year after year, decade after decade. Scientists call them zombie cells, refusing to die, refusing to work, and quietly leaking inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream the entire time. By your 70s, your tissues can be genuinely loaded with them, draining your stem cell reserves and feeding directly into heart disease, joint decline, and organ failure. Sit with that for a moment. The exact same gene protecting you from cancer at 25 is the gene slowly breaking your body down at 75. Evolution looked at that trade and took the deal instantly, because all it needed was for you to survive long enough to reproduce. Everything that happened to your body after that point was simply never part of the contract. So here is the question this naturally leads to. What if we could switch this off? Clear out the zombie cells. Keep the repair systems running indefinitely. Never let TP53's protection turn into a slow-motion cost. What would actually happen if a population simply stopped dying of old age? Scientists have modeled exactly that scenario. Populations where death from aging was removed entirely from the equation. And the pattern that emerged was strikingly consistent, run after run. The population never made room for anyone new. Resources stayed locked with whoever had arrived first. Younger members found themselves competing against elders who held every advantage and had no biological reason to ever step aside. Eventually, the whole system buckled under its own weight. Growth stalled. Resources ran out. Several of the simulated populations did not just shrink, they collapsed entirely. In a world of limited resources, a species without built-in turnover struggles to survive at all. Immortality, it turns out, is not a gift. It is a slow-motion extinction event. So what does this actually mean for you, sitting here right now? You do not age because your cells are simply too fragile to last. You age because evolution ran the numbers millions of years ago and decided your long-term survival mattered less than your offspring's. Aging is not a malfunction. It is not bad luck, and it is not a design flaw. It is one of the most consequential trade-offs in the entire history of life on Earth. Your body was built to eventually step aside, quietly making room for whoever comes next. Not because nature is cruel. Because nature has always been playing a longer game than any single life could ever see the whole of.